Many crypto investors and XRP holders are starting to get skittish as crypto markets have failed to break above their March 2024 highs, and it's becoming a game of patience. Right here you can see we actually got slammed down pretty hard. It almost seems like the SEC planned it. Now, from a macroeconomic standpoint, this kind of makes sense. As the S&P 500 is now falling, there are major tensions in the Middle East which have raised red flags for a potential war. Aggregate inflation remains extremely high and unsustainable at an average 26% since 2020, and the Fed is now lowering interest rates, which has a lot of investors worried. Now, all of this to say, many people have been reaching out to us and the Bull Runners YouTube channel asking what they should do with their XRP bags. Do you sell? Do you hold and accumulate more? How should you approach proper risk management? Well, we'll cover all of that and more in this video. We'll cover some of the recent headlines that have been striking fear into the markets and how you can use these times to your advantage. How XRP will be used to usher in globalization in finance, according to Ripple co-founder Chris Larsen. How the Ripple versus SEC case is really heating up and things are starting to look more favorable. How the Ripple versus SEC case is really heating up and things are starting to look more favorable for Ripple. How under a Trump administration, we may have a new head honcho over at the SEC and why this is so great for the crypto industry as a whole. So if you're feeling blessed and bullish, comment 777. And if you're going to be the richest person in your family tree, smash the subscribe button. Hello and welcome back to the Bull Runners YouTube channel. My name is Paul. And in this video, we're going to cover exactly what you should be doing with your XRP bags, considering people are starting to get a bit skittish and tensions are rising in the Middle East and inflation is high, and all of these other macroeconomic factors are really starting to take a toll on the crypto communities, considering we did believe a breakout was going to happen here, only to see the SEC appeal and then for the price to get slammed right back down. But it's not just XRP. As you can see here on Bitcoin, over the same period of time, even with the SEC appeal, which had nothing to do with Bitcoin, Bitcoin also dumped on October 1st and 2nd. And yes, it has recovered and retraced a bit, unlike XRP, but I believe that's because people are still uncertain about the outcome surrounding the appeal. We're going to cover some of that news as well. However, if you remember back in January of 2024, Bitcoin had its first spot ETF approval, and a lot of companies came rushing in to sell that ETF to their institutional clients and customers. And that's what really caused the rally from the beginning of January all the way into March. And in this time frame, Bitcoin truly outperformed the general market, considering it was the first crypto to really have a spot ETF. That said, since that point in time, markets have been suffering, whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's Ethereum, whether it's XRP. The entire crypto market as a whole trades relatively correlated. That means the top biggest performers or market cap cryptos are going to move relatively similar. That said, you can see that we are currently in a downtrend with a series of lower highs, except for one situation right here. The market gets really bullish here. They start to buy, and then the market starts to tank for what we call a bull trap. That said, the saving grace on XRP is the fact that we are still trending to the upside, which would mean that this right here would look like a double bottom. So we have one bottom, two bottoms, and arguably even three bottoms for a bear trap. Generally speaking, though, the trend is still up with a load of volatility right here near the end. And I think this is what's starting to get people skittish. If the market breaks down, am I going to lose money? Is it going to break down to 44 cents? Are we going to see some crazy thing happen? It breaks down to 30 cents and I bought it 60 cents, right? It's no fun to lose 50% of your portfolio value. This is why I think it's so important to pay attention to the general market and even Bitcoin as an XRP holder, because they are highly correlated. And if I were to show you this chart right here from back in March, you can see that whenever Bitcoin goes up, typically XRP goes up. Whenever one dumps, the other dumps. Whenever one starts to pump, they pump, dump, dump, so on and so forth. Especially since the lows of July 2024, they've been highly correlated. However, since that point in time, XRP has been outperforming outperforming Bitcoin. And that's proven by this relative strength indicator. This right here, this purple line would be the indicator of Bitcoin. In other words, if they were trading at exactly the same amount of strength, it would both be aligned right here. If I pull up a chart of Bitcoin right up here, it would just be flat across the board. Whenever we are above this purple line, that means the strength on XRP is better or greater than Bitcoin. Whenever it's below, that means it's lower. So whenever I invest in cryptos, I typically like to be in stronger performing assets. And since July, XRP has been a better performing asset. Now, many believe that's because we are at the tail end. We got the settlement from the SEC. It's been lagging for so long in the market, but it's still a top 7 market cap crypto. So across the board, people in the XRP community are just starting to feel the pain of waiting for so dang long for this thing to break out of its descending, or I would argue just a pennant and a triangle over the last 6.5 years. Now, over at the Wall Street Journal, as they continue to do live updates, we are seeing that some person from the wealth consulting group, Jim Warden, said we're not completely 100% out of the woods as it relates to inflation, which we just showed you. 26% aggregate is insane. Everything just costs too much for the average person, which means we are consistently widening the gap between the very wealthy or the rich versus the middle class and the poor, which are falling far behind because the majority of their income is spent on the cost of living. We're also not completely out of the woods as it relates to recession. The Dow Industrial fell about 400 points today. Stocks fell nearly across the board, with 10 of the S&P 500's 11 sectors down for the day. The energy sector segment ticked higher as oil prices rose. And the reason that oil prices are rising is because of all of the turmoil and issues in the Middle East. And then very recently, right, Iran attacked Israel with missiles, drawing vows of retaliation. And being that the US consistently supports Israel, it's likely that if things get worse, we are going to enter the war as well. And we already have sent troops over and stationed them there. Then you have articles like this from MarketWatch will ask the question, will the US stock market crash this month? Why an October surprise can't be ruled out. And we've already seen that the bond market has now reverted back into normalized rates, which is typically indicative of a crash that is incoming now that we saw that yield inversion for a very, very long period of time. And again, people are starting to worry that because we got such a good jobs report, that the Fed is now not going to lower interest rates at all, or at least do 25 basis point rate cut, which is not fast enough for the economy to truly recover. But in this article, they say October is a spooky month for US stocks, with 2 of the worst market crashes occurring in October of 1929 and 1987. Then in conclusion, they say the next question that many people have is whether there's anything about October that makes markets in that month especially vulnerable to crashing. But because crashes are so rare, there is insufficient data to reach robust statistical conclusions. That said, October, from a market data standpoint, does appear to be the most volatile month for the stock market, considering, again, we look at how funds and institutions play through the summer, and more often than not, we experience a summer lull. So markets are less volatile, there's less money flowing back and forth, and things really start to heat up into the end of the year. And here is what they share, or at least Taleb shares in a book. It says, your strategy is to be as hyper conservative and hyper aggressive as you can be, instead of being mildly aggressive or conservative. In other words, the time of the year that people make the most money is in October, and the time of the year that people can lose their asses is also in October. So we do expect it to be a very interesting and volatile month. Now, that said, in the event of a flash crash, in my opinion, this would be the best opportunity to start accumulating into an end of the year bull run. I still think we have that on the table. That said, if we broke down, I think anything between 43 cents to just below 38 cents would be an insane deal to buy, especially when you consider the amount of support and trade volume we have right up here. And then looking back further, you can see that we have a stupid amount of volume right down here to the 36 and 38 cent range. So that said, this would be a really good opportunity to buy if we saw any unexpected volatility. And then when you take a look at, for example, the stochastic RSI, right, in the case of the VRVP, let me remove that, you can see that that consistently when we bottom out like right here and yet again right here, and then start to turn up where the blue line crosses over the orange line from the lows, it starts to rally up to the upside and you do see the market start to pump. That said, it doesn't mean that we can't get a double bottom type of a situation like this on the stochastic RSI where the price continues to decline in a range like this. So if we started to break down and we saw some volatility, these are really good buy zones for me. And that's specifically for XRP investors. If you're a day trader, I do think you should expect a lot of volatility, so maybe take on a little bit less risk, especially if you're taking on any leverage. Now, things are starting to get really heated between the entire crypto industry and the SEC, as the same day that they filed the appeal, this gentleman by the name of Gerber Grewal, which is the director of the enforcement division at the SEC, actually resigned, and then the SEC put out a statement. Well, now an SEC exec who signed off on the Ripple case appeal is facing a bar complaint. They're potentially going to lose a license. And the SEC's enforcement chief for crypto assets and cyber union, Jorge Tenreiro, is facing a bar complaint after signing off on the appeal against Ripple and its founders. And in this article, it says that he faces allegations of overreach. So yes, it looks like he could potentially lose his license. He's currently up for review in a few different cases involving crypto, and things are not looking good at the SEC, as virtually all of the major players are starting to fall off person by person, which leads me to some very exciting news surrounding Donald Trump and who he would appoint as the new SEC chairman. And this is a Robinhood executive by the name of Daniel M. Gallagher. Not only is he very pro crypto, but he's currently over at Robinhood working with cryptos directly. So he has far more of a vested interest in seeing this space succeed. And he also has experience as the SEC commissioner from 2011 to 2015, and then he became the chief legal officer over at Robinhood in 2020. Now for the most exciting news surrounding Chris Larsen, who is one of the co-founders of Ripple. And here's what he had to say about how XRP plays a role in globalization and finance.
Cool thing that's going on now is companies, individuals, new startups, governments, nonprofits, anybody now will have the ability to utilize that data internet and that value internet. So if you're in fintech, anything having to do with finance, which is basically the lifeblood of the way the global economy works, you're not just moving the data anymore, but also the value. And that is completely groundbreaking. And that is the completion of globalization. And that should usher in the full potential of globalization, which, as you know, has been unpopular. And again, not because it's a bad thing, but because it's been incomplete, and now we're completing it. And it's really exciting to think about what that might usher in.
So at the end of the day, what Chris Larsen just shared, I think gives us a lot of hope as an XRP community, but more importantly, maybe even is an Easter egg into the future of what globalization looks like using Ripple technology, blockchain, and how a lot of that value is going to find its way into XRP. Considering it's, again, a very large crypto by market cap, there is a lot of institutional demand. At some point here in the near future, we're likely going to get an XRP ETF. If there is a Trump administration, the entire SEC is going to be very pro-crypto and crypto friendly. I think things are looking really good and up. Yes, we could potentially get an October surprise. However, the data shows that they're very rare, far and few between. So if we did, I do expect the market to dump a bit, and I would expect XRP to be into a really good buy zone and a range for accumulation between 43 cents down to maybe just below 38 cents for a support. On the flip side, you can see that we still have not broke out above this descending trend line. But when we do, I think things are going to get really heated up as it breaks out for the very first time in over 2,464 days. And as the old saying goes, the longer the time frame, the stronger the breakout. All we've seen is consistent buying and support between the 55-cent range all the way down to the 20-cent range. And now things are looking really good for XRP. So no, I don't think we have too much to worry about. I wouldn't be playing with a boatload of leverage, but generally speaking, if I have conviction that the market's going to move up and XRP is going to do well in the future, then I should be looking for major ranges of support and to accumulate into an end of the year bull market rally. So that said, if you are an XRP holder or plan to hold XRP over the upcoming months, then go on down to the link in the description below or even in the comments below. And the very first link will look like this. It'll be bullrunners.com/cryptoland. So you can learn how to earn crypto in less than 10 minutes with the #1 play to earn XRP game. Great way to put your XRP to work. We talk about it all the freaking time on this channel because we believe it's one of the coolest things that you can do if you're already an XRP holder to not only reduce your volatility in the case we get some sort of a black swan event or major volatility or whatever, but on the flip side to compound and stack onto that XRP bag of yours into the end of the year. And you can do it in 3 simple steps: get an XRP wallet, get your game pieces, and then finally play the game to earn crypto. The crypto itself is directly convertible for XRP. I highly recommend, just so you feel confident and comfortable, that you watch these videos so you understand it before you just go and do it all at once, because I know some people in this community are excitable, but we want to make sure we're doing right by you and that you truly understand it before you go and do it. So make sure that you watch a few of these videos so you feel confident and comfortable, then go ahead and actually follow through on it. And we look forward to seeing you on the other side. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe, like the video, it helps us out. We appreciate your time. I look forward to seeing you in the next video, my friend. Goodbye.